Hello and welcome to another edition of the Same Old Stripes podcast. We're in the hundreds of these we've done now, which is funny. I don't even know. I think we're like 135 or so. For the 135th time, we're coming to you talking about the Cincinnati Bengals. No other subjects. We're not even going to talk about the Seahawks. We're not going to talk about the AFC North. We're not going to talk about anything other than no. We're here to talk. You get T.O. and Billy here today. We got the whole power trio getting together a little more frequently, getting you guys some shows as we get into the season here. We're here to talk about another Cincinnati Bengals victory, coming in back-to-back fashion this time for the first time winning streak, two together at the same time. Good job, Bengals. Looking like a team that's, meant to be a little bit more of a contender, maybe. Maybe on defense, maybe not so much on offense. We'll get into all of that. We got a lot to talk about. But first, let's check in. T.O., you're in Wisconsin. How are things with you, man? How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing well. If you notice on my name, I just have the T today. That's because we're still searching for our O. So
I love it.
I feel like I couldn't put the O, man. Our offense been missing, but like Burrow said, man, any win's a good win. And it seems like the boys are frustrated. Callahan kind of came out. Burrow's, you can always sense when he's a little frustrated. Feels like maybe something is starting to turn in the right direction of them possibly getting more creative or something, figuring something out. So with that, I'm doing pretty well. School year's been good so far. Just trying to get through it. You know how it is. So how you guys doing?
I'm doing pretty good. You're about on that grind of Thanksgiving break and then right onto that Christmas holiday break season. So you're getting close to the fun teacher break time of year, which has got to be nice for you. But let's check in with Billy now. Billy, how are you, my friend? The Bengals are now 3-3. You seem to be a happy camper on Sunday night. How are things with you, my friend?
I'm good, man. Pumped that looks like we have a little streak going on here. Hopefully, we can kind of push the terms that we did last year. But excited. I thought as frustrating as parts of the game were, and I think you could say the same thing for the Cardinals game as well. Like I just think they are moving in the right direction and kind of. We've seen this story before, but really trending to playing really good football in December and January, which is what we really ultimately all want. Things are good, though. Just actually finishing up or continuing to plan a bachelor party for the first time ever. Actually, just booked a flight, going to be in Dallas for the Colts game. I think it's week 12, December 9th. My buddy's a huge Eagles fan, so we're going Eagles-Cowboys Sunday Night Football, so little weekend in Dallas in December, so it should be pretty cool.
Billy, you're telling me you're not going to be at your home base all locked in for the Bengals in their epic matchup with Gardner Minshew?
I will not be. I will be. We actually just booked a table. They have a cool thing there called like Texas Live in between where the Rangers and the AT&T Stadium is where we're staying. So it's like a crazy thing. I like book a table, have to spend like a minimum of like $400 or $500, whatever it is. But like they have like every game there. It's like pretty much like a nightclub at like 11 o'clock in the morning in Dallas, which should be pretty cool. But yeah, that game worries me a little bit now. That honestly, that Richardson's out, but we'll get to that down the line when it comes.
Well, Billy, I think that it sounds like you might have a little bit more of a relaxing vacation ahead of you on that bachelor's party than the Bengals are going to have over their next couple 2 weeks off. Obviously the bye is here now, but lots of mixed feelings heading into this bye, despite the fact that they're coming off of a 17-13 win over the Seattle Seahawks, a team that we should note, very good football team, playoff team last year. I think most people would at this point probably expect the Seattle Seahawks to be right there in the playoffs again this year in the NFC. Did it in kind of crazy fashion, not in a relaxing fashion, like hanging out at a sports book.
I just want to add on that, as everyone told me I was crazy. The Commanders to the playoff take does look a little bit better in week 6 than it did in week 1. Just saying.
Yeah, Sam Howell's the truth. Apparently, he's the next him. He's going to save Ron Rivera's career. Actually, no one's going to save Ron Rivera's career. Different podcast, different day. We'll do Commanders talk off season. Or who knows? Who knows when the Commanders will enter our lives again? But getting back to this kind of storyline for the Bengals now, we did see the resurgence of the defense on Sunday. And we did see a particularly important component return for the Bengals defense, which was that red zone defense starting to really show some teeth. And it started to show itself a little bit more against the Rams. Definitely showed itself against the Cardinals. Didn't show itself so much in Tennessee. But what did? What did show in Tennessee? Did anything look good in Tennessee? No. Beside that, man, just lots of standout performances across the board from a lot of key players. Cam Taylor-Britt obviously probably had the standout game of his career so far. 7 tackles, an interception, bunch of pass breakups, holding DK Metcalf mostly in check. Trey Hendrickson was everywhere, picked up another sack. Sam Hubbard made a number of big plays. BJ Hill was involved. DJ Reader looked resurgent. Mike Hilton had an interception. DJ Turner played a ton of snaps. With a day when not a lot went right for the offense after the first 2 drives. And believe me, we're going to get into all of that. But I think we need to take a little time and talk about what went right on this defense and some of the trend lines that are starting to emerge from this defense. So, Tio, I'll go to you first. I mean, how much more confidence do you have in a defense after a performance like that against a team like Seattle, who has a really good wide receiver core and a running game that's, pretty effective and, makes a lot of teams, kind of have to really lean back and play on their back heels. How impressive was that for you, and how much better do you feel about this unit now, despite the fact that we're still missing some performances from notable players like Joseph Osai, Nick Scott, amongst others?
Yeah, man, I think couple. You guys hear that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I'm getting like feedback here. No, I think a couple weeks ago, we talked about what's going on with our defense and what's our biggest concern, and we talked about what we trust, and it came back to Lou for me, man. You got to trust Lou Anarumo, and he's going to figure it out, right? Obviously, he has some new pieces coming in. He's got to deal with 2 new safeties, and you know how stingy he is about playing new players, new young guys. So, I mean, you can consider Nick Scott old, I guess, if you want, whereas 28, 29. So he is old, a little bit older, a veteran type. But he's young in this league, man. He's only started for 1 year on a really crappy defense. So now he comes over to the Bengals, where we're expected to be top 10 defensively every year in and year out, at least where it matters, right? Where points, red zone, stuff like that. And, for him to kind of take over the reins of either Von Bell or the Jesse Bates role, it's big shoes to fill, and he obviously hasn't filled it, unfortunately. Hopefully he does, or hopefully Battle steps up. But that's where it came for me we got Lou, man. We got if not the best defense coordinator, the second best. I think the only other person you could argue is dude from Dallas, right? Dan Quinn, or is Dan Quinn? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, that's really the only other option, in my opinion. So that's where I get back to. And obviously, Lou's kind of identity is bend, don't break, right? So you are going to give up a ton of yards, and that's fine. You're not going to see many 3-and-outs, which does get frustrating at times. But when Lou does need to dial it up, he's going to dial it up, and he's going to make plays, or at least put guys in position to make plays. And the best thing about this defense, man, and I think it's going to help a lot in January. It's going to be able to allow Lou to play a little bit more man, in my opinion, because in January, I think you have to play a lot of man. Cam Taylor-Britt and DJ Turner, man, those boys are dogs. Those boys are dogs. You ain't going to see Scantley crushing us for 100 yards and 2 TDs. You're just not going to see it this year. I know the Chiefs, they're pretty smart. They do like to attack Mike Hilton, especially with size in the playoffs. And I just think Lou's going to be in his bag in the playoffs. I think you won't see Mike Hilton in coverage. So, yeah, man, I trust this defense. If they continue to stop the run, I think they'll be fine.
The stopping the run thing, I still have yet to. I'm going to need a little more context. We saw for 1 week held Kenneth Walker to his lowest yards per carry of the season. I think he was around 3.3 yards a carry. Very good performance against a very good running back. But Tio, I think that you brought up the Nick Scott side of this, but you also kind of brought up some of the the underbelly of this, which is players starting to be empowered to make plays, which I think is a pretty big part of what the Bengals kind of talked about in the locker room on Sunday, and an important part of, what I think I learned a little more, or got, a little more confidence about this defense. A couple things that stood out on I think it was the last sack on Geno Smith of the game that BJ Hill registered. Initially, it was going to be a design where Sam Hubbard thought he was going to be able to pressure the right tackle, and he was just going to go around the edge like a normal pass rush. But BJ Hill said to him, "Now let's run this stunt. I know I'm going to beat him, and I know I'm going to get home." And it's a play where basically Sam Hubbard gets a little bit of leverage, and BJ Hill basically just whips around. And apparently it's given them a ton of success over the years. The stunt worked, got a sack. So, and then another one that stands out is they asked Mike Hilton about the interception he made down in the red zone. And he mentioned that on the tape study over and over again, when they ran this motion specifically for, I think it was whatever number Jake Bobo is for whatever reason. Whenever they put him in motion, it was always going to be this little route to him on the side. So Mike Hilton knew immediately when that motion was called, he knew where that ball was going. Tape study, individual player knows where the play is going to be, because I heard a beat reporter kind of intimate, did you kind of just read that play and kind of go off script? And he definitely did read and go off script. He did fall right into what Geno Smith was throwing at him. And that's just kind of what stood out to me, is this defense is starting to, do that thing. And man, they're starting to find their little way. They're starting to claw. Everyone's starting to find their individual moments, and that's really exciting. Obviously, Cam Taylor-Britt's interception setting up that late Bengals field goal, make it 17-13. Man, how heavy does that weigh? Billy, I'm going to flip it over to you now to ask about this defense. Anyone that stood out to you in particular, and just your impression of your defense after that?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think this defense just starts with the front seven, man. I just think, it really kind of starts and ends in the trenches with them. I think the play on the outside has been very good, and you can't overlook that. But, I mean, to me, I think we talk about it a lot too. When you're in the NFL, and I don't care if you have, 5 all-pro Hall of Fame linemen out there, you step back to throw the ball 35, 40 times, you're giving up sacks in a game, right? You can't look for a clean sheet. You're going to give up some hurries. You're going to give up quarterback hits. Just the nature of the game. These guys are too athletic, just working with way too much leverage. So I kind of look at it on a twofold of obviously we're talking about the defense, but it kind of goes back to, Zach and the game plan. I think, as frustrating as it can be watching it, and I think, to be honest, I think if you look at the general public and the kind of view of our team in the public eye going into the bye, I think the public's kind of tired of it too. The Bengals are going to win a lot of games ugly, man. They're going to go to get up by a 10-point lead or, a 7-point lead, and really just kind of, like you said, bend no break on defense. Go after the quarterback when they can in the red zone. But I think this defense, and I really had a lot of confidence into that last drive, because when you're in a pass-only situation against this Bengals defense and they can kind of hold guys on the outside, and I've really only seen maybe 1 or 2 plays. I think off the top of my head, like the Hollywood Brown messed up on 3rd and 9, like stuff like that just can't happen. But if they're going to keep you in front of them and they're going to know that you're in a pass-only situation, they're going to rear back and go after you. And I truly think that that's kind of the game plan. You're going to see a lot of games. I mean, even you look at Houston, you look at Indianapolis, you look at some of these games down the stretch, you think, hey, the Bengals have the upper hand. I mean, wouldn't surprise me at all. You're looking at like 21-17, 28-24 type of games where Bengals look to get a lead, and not to say like they're looking to give up points, but they're not going to take chances and kind of gamble early with a lead. They're going to just kind of grind a lot of these games out. So kind of similar in the state of, it's going to frustrate us a lot. We're going to have a lot of slow starts. We're going to have a lot of stalls. But again, like, our offense is playing good enough for us to win in September and October. Fine with that. Let's hold it off to December and January when they're winning us some games.
All I'll say on the offense until we get into it in just a second is, thank God it's Joe Burrow, because anyone else would be about 0-6 right now. I mean, the dude does just enough magic in the tank to take what it's very Steelers. I'm just gonna say it. This team is playing Pittsburgh Steelers football right now, and I hate it. I really don't like it. I understand why their fans are so miserable at everyone else all the time because they gotta watch their team play this ugly fucking football.
Dude, it's gross. And I just wanted to say, even during the game when Cam Taylor gets that pick in the fourth quarter, the diving one, and if he doesn't get up there, we don't score and we probably lose this game. And let's call it what it is. Even me and my brothers are watching the game, and after he gets up and gets to the 34 or whatever, my brother Ricky looks at me and he's like, "We wouldn't have scored if he didn't get there." He's like, "Now we'll probably get a field goal out of it." And what did we do? 3 now. It's just we got to be the only team in the NFL that after a big interception will not run a shot play. We got to be the only team. Like, where's the play action, like out of the pistol there and take a shot? It's so frustrating, bro. And that's the problem with this offense too, is if they get a pick around midfield, you know they're punting it right back. And I can't stand it. I can't stand it.
I mean, we could talk a little bit more about the young secondary, but I think we're at a boiling point with the offense, and I think we just got to get into it. So let's get into it. The Cincinnati Bengals have a bottom three. I'm not even generous enough to call it a bottom 5 offense. It's a bottom 3 offense in the NFL. They have the second worst passing offense. The Patriots have a worse passing offense in my observation. They have a meager rushing offense, which, mind you, peaked at 5 rushing yards gained. That was their most yards gained against the Seahawks on a rush on Sunday. Now, they're not going to the well on the running game very much, but it's not like there's been a whole lot there. And this comes on the heels of us in Arizona talking about the passing game being back. This is on the heels of us talking about in the first couple of weeks, Joe Mixon looking rejuvenated. Now we're looking at like it's a lot of the same old stuff that we've complained about in the past all happening at the same time. Limited, but not the offensive line's a part of it. The interior of the offensive line's a big part of it. We're just like checking off like the Joe Burrows in town checklist of Bengals complaints right now about the offense. Their skill players can't catch the ball. I feel like John Ross is back in town for whatever reason. Like, is just like all bad omens are happening at the same time?
Yo, we need a John Ross right now. We need some speed.
We'll get into that because I think that's definitely something we're going to be talking about that in February and March, no matter what. I think conversation for another day. Not a lot to love on the offense right now, and especially when this is supposed to be the year where you're kind of on a contract year with some of your key players, Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins. And it looks like the only skill player that matters on the entire team for the most part is Jamar Chase. Irv Smith's giving you nothing. Chase Brown's giving you nothing. Travion Williams and Chase Evans. Wow. His name's Chase Evans. Chris Evans. That's his name. Captain America. I don't think the Bengals know his name either. I really don't. Because his job was to be the kick returner, and now he's not even that when he's active. Lots to go into on the offense, guys. I have a hard time picking where to start, but I think the right place to start is the quarterback looks bad. That's kind of the hardest part of all this. I think that we kind of have to an extent. I mean, the calf is an excuse, but it's not an excuse anymore. We saw the mobility come back against the Cardinals. We saw him really mobile against the Seahawks. We saw him drive the ball against both teams. At this point, and we saw him on the first 2 drives just pick the Seahawks apart. What we haven't seen is this offense can, for an entire game, or for really an entire half, look like the unit that we've known and loved for long stretches. They don't look dominant. They don't look scary, and they're not putting teams away. They're not putting teams to bed. I mean, they're the Cardinals a little bit, but even then, there was a Cam Taylor-Britt pick 6 that went into that as well, and a lot of poor decisions. Right? Just a lot of defense that went into that too. Turnovers, all that kind of stuff. That's a lot of me talking. That's a lot of me setting up, and that's a lot of me venting about where this offense is. Billy, I'm going to let you go in first, especially on number 9. But just, man, where are yours? Where's your head on the state of this offense and where Joe Burrow is right now? This is obviously an elite quarterback, but Patrick Mahomes subject to struggles as well, but not quite to the level that we're seeing from Joe Burrow right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely some lumps, man. You can't deny it. I think the calf was a thing, maybe a little bit too much of a thing. But they're in a little bit of a rut right now. But like I'll lean to maybe on the more positive side. Like as frustrated as it is for us, they got to 3-3, man. I mean, we sat here after the Tennessee game and really considered. I mean, the worst. I mean, you go 1-5, even you go 2-4 into the bye, man. Like with the games you have lined up, I'm a little worried about the playoffs, to be honest with you. So listen, they got to 3-3. Am I happy? Am I satisfied with where they're playing? Obviously not. But I think that there are a few kind of linings in there. I think, Jamar has shown his just, peak performance and how much just, I mean, I just think, I hate to say it, like, call me a homer you want. I think he's the best receiver in football. I just do. I think he does things that Jefferson can't do. He does things that Tyreek Hill can't do. I say if we're talking all overall deep threat possession receiver, he's just the best. He's the best player. He's the best wide receiver in football. And in my opinion, I think he's the best skill player in football. Um, I think you've had some rough goes of it, man. I think T has kind of been a little bit too much your turn, my turn type of receiver. He's taken a step back, in my opinion. I know the rib was tough. I probably, if we had the chance again, it was a little frustrated. He probably suited up on Sunday, to be completely honest with you. I mean, I don't really see the need if you're going to target him 4 times to have him set up and take hits when he could get essentially 4 weeks of rest out of it. Um, I've said this all along. I think obviously you're talking about like MVP, obviously Jamar, but my like I'm talking most important player to this Bengals offense in the first 6 weeks. It's Tyler Boyd, man. Where would they be without some of these catches that Tyler Boyd has made, and these second and short, third and type of 5 or 6 type of plays? He's made some huge catches for a man, and I really think that Tyler has kind of played himself in the first 6 weeks in my mind to another contract with the Bengals. Like he's kind of that old reliable that isn't going to bitch about touches, isn't going to bitch about targets. He's when his numbers call, he's going to get it done. He fights for extra yards, but I think nine has a lot of areas to improve at this point. I think he understands that. But again, like I hate to like kind of sound like a broken record here, but it really is about December and January football for this team, man. Obviously, it's a big 2 week stretch of who you got coming up after the bye. And you don't want to be like that either, but it just kind of is what it is with the NFL. You got to beat good teams. You got to beat heavy opponents. But if we look at this stretch, I think if we look at the stretch of 4 games that started after the 0-2, if we look back at it in January, 3-1 was kind of really all you could ask for at that point. I think we all sat here at 0-2 saying obviously 4-0 is great, but we're going to look back at 3-1, and we're not going to remember how ugly it was. We're just going to remember it's 3-1. So I'm one to not panic on the offense as of yet. I think the weapons are there. I think there's some upgrades that need to be done, whether it's Hunter Henry or Gesicki in New England. But God knows Bill Belichick would no intent really on selling guys into the AFC. So I guess we'll see a lot what happens with that in the next couple of weeks. I think they have a running back 2 problem. I think Mixon is who he is. I think his presence in the locker room has really the reason why he's here, to be completely honest with you. If he wasn't really beloved in the locker room with all the shenanigans and everything that went on, I don't see him being a Bengal at this point. But, it is what it is, man. It's going to come down in the next 4 or 5 years. We're going to be looking and talking a lot about, can we have complementary guys in this offense, right? Do we go the Chiefs route of bringing in guys that maybe don't have the biggest names, but can kind of fit a specific skill set? Like, we're going to have to start looking at that down the line because I hate to be this guy and say it, but if we're talking off of a 6 week sample size, like, no way in hell am I fucking being T at this point. And I love him, but, like, one, I don't see any other 1-2 combo in the NFL that is consistently a Super Bowl contender when you're paying 3 guys that amount of money. It's a numbers game. And 2, if you look at Kansas City, man, like I do think that if you got faster around Joe, and we'll talk about that as it goes forward, but you get guys that are just quick, fast football players around Joe, it changes the game. I think we're too slow at this point.
You're what?
Oh, he fucked up.
Oh. Hey.
You're muted. Can you hear us?
All right. I'll just give my thoughts. While we wait for Willie to jump back on. This offense stinks, man. This
No,
offense.
it does. I think there's obviously limitations to the offense, and I don't know how much you're going to really.
And there shouldn't be, though. Why is there limitations? I get that it's a speed issue, but
I mean, I think that's a big thing. I think it honestly, man, like I think there's a big like just ball distribution problem with the offense. Like, I hate to say it, like DeMar needs the ball to be successful, but he kind of needs the ball to be successful. Like I look at a play, like look at the Reynolds and St. Brown play in Detroit the other day. Like those are guys that are just like blood hungry at that point to just get like.
But Reynolds, not the running back. The receiver Reynolds slow, bro. He's not fast, and he's getting wide open.
No, I'm just saying, like look at the block like he lays for St. Brown. Like, have you seen T block like that for Jamar? Like, you don't want to put it in that context, but it's just it's the same thing, man. Like, I think just it's too much. Like, I need the ball this play, right? T hasn't gotten the ball in 3 times. Let's get him the ball. Like,
I don't know, man. I feel like our receivers are pretty unselfish. Or they have.
I don't want to call it selfish, but I mean, like T had 2 games of 0 catches this year. Like, just not fucking acceptable. Like, I completely.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It feels like he's kind of in his head this year.
I think he's played
it low key shows too, because like I don't even know if I want to go there, but
I think he's been horrible this year. And I think he's a 1A. I think he's a 1 on most teams in the NFL. Like I completely agree with that, but at some point, like you got to perform. It's almost to the point 9 at this point. Like, yeah, like anyone asks you, "Oh, you hate are you upset about spending the money?" Like, no, he's Joe Burrow, but
no.
Like, in turn, yeah, like he hasn't.
I don't know, man. He's just been, and maybe it's not him, but there's been too many vocal shit on Twitter for me. That kind of lets you know it's in his head. He knows about the money. He knows he's not going to get paid here, which it is what it is, man. Like I would pay T, and I wouldn't have a problem with it. And I'd be okay paying Boyd too, but the problem is then you're staying at that speed. My
thing with Boyd is that like I'm fine with not paying T, giving Boyd like whatever the number is, a mid-level deal, and I look at the Chief model, and like I seriously kind of sink into the point of being like if the Bengals had players that if you put the same players that are around, obviously take Kelsey out of the equation. We're not talking take Kelsey and Chase out of the equation. If you put the guys that the Chiefs have around Patrick Mahomes, around Joe Burrow, and you take Kelsey and you take Chase out of the equation, I just think Joe Burrow's so much better with speed around him, man.
I don't know, man. I think the design in Kansas City is so much better.
Yeah.
I mean, you're getting guys that probably don't make the roster on some of these teams running free, and it's just like the Bengals never have anyone.
But like my question to the design is, how much of the design is it with Bieniemy not there? Like, do you think it's just like a cultural thing at that point? Like
Andy Reid, bro. It's all Andy Reid. That's what it is.
I don't know, man. Bieniemy is making the same house look like
right. But yeah, I don't know, man. Like if we go into a game without Chase, how many points do we score at this point? Like teams are not afraid of this offense, and they shouldn't be. Like I said earlier, man, I would keep T if you can. I'm not gonna be heartbroken if he's gone. I guess. I mean, I will in a way, but I think you got to get faster somewhere, and I'd be happy going to get faster at slot. But again, I do want to keep Boyd around here. Culture.
Let me ask you one thing, Willie. As you were like kind of popping in, we were kind of ranting about back and forth about the offense. Like, what is Callahan's role in this offense? Like, I just don't know at this point. And it kind of goes back to like somebody has to get fired. Like, I completely agree. You lose to Arizona, somebody loses the job. But like, who loses the job? I really like have concern of, and I think that's a good point to make, T.O., about Bieniemy and Reid. Like, who is it? Was it Bieniemy? Because Andy Reid's there now and Bieniemy's not, and they really haven't missed a step. Like, if you got rid of Callahan and brought a new guy in here, like, does anything change? Is Zach Taylor
could it get worse? Could it get worse? I mean, honestly, could it get worse? You're scoring 14 points a game.
Well, that's my take on it. Like, is at some point does Zach have to delegate? Does he have to really kind of? And I'm not even talking about play call. Like, does he have to like take a step back and be more in a CEO role? Which, if you're asking me, like that's a flaw of Zach Taylor. I think he's a leader of men. I think he really motivates this group well.
Yeah.
But I think a step that could take this franchise and him as a head coach above and beyond is being more of that CEO level, like having less hands on some of these aspects of this team and just delegating. Like I look at like a guy like Brian Dable right now, who's really kind of trying to put his hands on every aspect of the team, ripping quarterbacks on the sideline. Like you get to that point in the NFL where you kind of that the job kills you, dude. These guys sleep in the office 23 hours of the day. Like I think Zach is kind of, and it's worked, and it's hard to like argue it when you've had the success you've had. But at some point, like when do you take a step back and kind of delegate and say, hey, like my hand's too much on the imprint of this team. Maybe I need to see it from another side.
So from the Brian Callahan standpoint, and where I kind of think I would argue that I probably don't put as much on Zach Taylor in this front is Brian Callahan in this relationship should be coming to this situation, bringing a lot of creative ideas to the situation, which comes through tape study, which comes through, going and meeting. And, honestly, a lot of the way things trickle up is that college steals from high school and the NFL steals from college. And that's kind of how we get these offensive developments and defensive developments. Brian Callahan should be bringing new ideas and his own visions into this offense based on the personnel and his own vision of what this thing can look like based on the way the league is trending. I mean, it's like any, corporate job that you're going to find in America. You're going to do, so you have a task, you got to bring your little part, that it's your role. You're responsible for bringing this every year. We have to have this component, and you got to bring this thing, and it's got to help the wheels all spin better together. But what Brian Callahan has done is brought in weak information. It just feels like whatever they brought in did not innovate the offense. If anything, it seems to have denigrated the offense a little bit, because this thing is just looks so out of funk. Like even the stuff that they were doing last year looks like it's 10 times harder. And it's not like all of a sudden the defenses have gotten incredibly innovative and incredibly crazy.
No, it's the same crap.
Seattle said the only thing they did is went from playing mostly too high to doing one or doing cover one and then doing a bunch of different little things with that. But they mostly just sat in cover one for most of the second half of that game. It wasn't like they were exactly reinventing the goddamn wheel out there.
Right. Let me jump in here real quick. I didn't really get a hit on, the offense question you asked. One, if I was a defense coordinator, I would put 35 people in the box and say, beat us over top. And then I'd put one guy over the top of Chase. And that's what I'd say. I'd say, okay, T. Higgins, go out and get me 200 yards. Because all this offense is, man, is it's just check down after check down after check down. It's boring. It's long. It's methodical. It's hard to watch. I don't know what offense I'd rather watch, the Steelers or the Bengals. But anyways, man, what's wrong with the offense? Everything. The tight end, that's another question for another day. Absolute failure there. There's not a lot of speed. You still don't have a running back too. And you just don't have speed, man. You need someone that can break one tackle and take it to the house. And you only have that with one guy. And that becomes a problem. So I don't know, man. I don't know where to go. I don't think Burrow's been good. And my thing, and I told you guys this a couple weeks ago, is Burrow's superpower outside of, creating inside the pocket and making guys miss and whatnot. His superpower was supposed to be his pre-snap and post-snap reads, right? Like his mind. And even with the calf issue, I know that defenses are probably playing tighter because they know he couldn't move. But at some point, man, show me something, man. You got to show me something. So I don't know, man. They got to get faster. If they don't work the phones out the deadline, I think that would be an ultimate failure, especially this year, considering contracts that are coming up. I know they don't typically do it, but if there was ever a year.
And the crazy part is, I think where you have to look if I'm looking first from the Bengals, you have to look to improve your skill position right now, particularly tight end and running back, because those areas are just such big zeros for this team. Like Joe Mixon to me is just he's what Zeke is doing for the Patriots right now. That should be his role. He should be like the guy that's a bigger name, can play starter snaps, but realistically, you want him playing like 35 to 40% of your snaps. But like it's all the same shit, man. That's the crazy thing with the Mixon thing at this point. Is if you look at all the same metrics we looked at last year, he still struggles against light boxes. He's still not very efficient. He's still not getting a ton of yards after contact. He still has such a low explosive run rate. And the Bengals, mind you, still only have 9 big rushing plays. I mean, he plays over 10 yards. It's not like all of a sudden we've seen this Joe Mixon renaissance, which I kind of feel like has been projected. And the first thing people are going to come back and say is, well, the offensive line isn't very good. I would actually argue there's a lot of good run scheme on tape. There's a lot, I think Cordell Volson's had some big whiffs in the run game, and there's no doubt about that. He's had big whiffs in the passing game. I think that we can talk about, and I don't know that you're going to be able to find a replacement for him in season, but he's a guy that I think that at this point we can't consider a long-term solution at left guard by any stretch of the imagination, and we probably can't consider him the starter for 2024 by any stretch of the imagination. It's off the table right now. You can't think about it. It's not a conversation. With that being said, this team has some good things going with the run scheme right now. I think that there's some really nice design, especially with some of the pin pull runs. Jonah Williams has actually looked really comfortable in right tackle, especially as a run blocker. Orlando Brown, very physical, very strong. Alex Kapp is a pretty good run blocker. Ted Karras, man, I don't know what's going on there. I don't really get it. It looks like a different guy right now than the guy we saw a year ago. I feel like I just hit on all 5 of the offensive linemen in a row and kind of did a synopsis of that whole thing. But all that to say, there's more good things going on in the run game that are being taken advantage of. And it's a shame because if you look at some of these, and I think that one thing that has been said, I think Paul Denter Jr. might have pointed it out and some of the other bigger writers, but if you don't have a good running game in the NFL, your offense is lacking right now.
Yep.
It's damning how many it directly correlates. The teams that are running the ball effectively are the teams that are, having the most explosive offenses. I mean, it's not an accident that Brock Purdy is having explosive offensive success in the San Francisco 49ers offense. It's just not. They run the ball effectively. It's not an accident that Tua Tagovailoa, all of a sudden the Dolphins can run the ball and boom, all these explosive plays are open for all these really fast guys.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. What a crazy concept that is. So to me, I think that either you got it. I don't know if the tight end really helps. I mean, I really think this team is lacking in the RB2 department. And I think that for years and years and years and years, they took Giovanni Bernard for granted as a guy that you could always trust and the guy that was pretty much always healthy. I mean, he had some stuff over the years, but he never really missed more than 2 or 3 games a year at a minimum or a maximum. So to me, I think that's where I'm shopping first. Tight end would be right in there, but I'll open it up to any of you guys for things that you got to be shopping for or where you really got to improve or names. I don't know.
Yeah,
that whole situation just frustrates me right now.
I'll jump in real quick because I wanted to touch on kind of before we even get to in season. What a failure, man, this offseason was, right? Like, obviously Orlando's a huge gift, but there was so much more out there. You look at DeAndre Swift going for a 6th. What did he go for, a 5th? Whatever it was. It doesn't matter. Swift would have been perfect for this offense. A pass catcher, an explosive runner, and look what he's doing in Philly. He's absolutely killing it. Darren Waller, I mean, just getting absolutely ruined in New York. You tell me you couldn't have pulled the trigger there. I understand you don't want to pay a tight end close to $10 million, but at the same time, man, you got a championship window, and it's only for so long. That's some moves you got to make. As far as in season, man, you're right. You got to go get something. And I don't know what. I feel like you almost got to go get both because this tight end room right now.
I mean, Drew Sample is by far and away the best tight end on this team right now.
And then it's Hudson.
He's just a blocker. He's just blocks. Samuel's job on this team is to block.
And then it's Hudson. Hudson's next. Like, he's played 1 or 2 games and he has double the receiving yards as Irv. And I'm not trying to get on Irv, man. I think he potentially, I don't know. I can't even say potentially could be good. I don't
agree. I don't think Irv Smith's any good. I don't think
Yeah.
he fits the offense at all. I think he's a waste of space right now.
But
Irv Smith, you could fit somewhere else. With this offense, it's not working, man. It doesn't click. It doesn't look good. You don't look comfortable in it.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll throw it back to you guys in a half second. I mean, guys, I would target Cordell Patterson maybe. He doesn't do much for me. He gives me a little bit in receiving, so I'd be excited about that and returning in case Jones goes down again. I have no idea about another running back. You're not going to go out and get Josh Jacobs. I don't know. I really don't know. Tight end. I'm calling P Ryan, but it's the same type of back, man. He's giving you 4 yards per carry, just like Mixon. It's just put me to sleep, man. Put me to sleep with that. That move does nothing for me. We're excited to get P Ryan back, but it's the same shit we're doing last year, and it doesn't work. I'm getting on the phone with the Giants again and being like, look, you guys are 1-5. You guys suck. Give me Waller. I think he's still on a 1 year, if I'm not mistaken. I'm calling Tennessee, asking for their weird dude that has a weird name. Anyone that has damn speed. Give me someone that has some speed, man.
Billy, your thoughts?
I don't know, man. It's kind of frustrating. I understand definitely like where you guys are coming from and everyone else. I want to ask this question, and like before I kind of go on, if he doesn't throw that pick against Baltimore, and the Bengals are 4-2, do you have the same frustrations as you do at 3-3? What would you guys say?
Absolutely. Your offense has scored more than 20 basically once, and it's a problem for years.
What happens if you have to play Miami in the playoffs?
But this is my argument with it, to just say, first off, I think the Miami shit is the biggest fluke in the NFL, to be completely honest with you, because
I don't know,
dude. Like, you can't win in the fucking in January like that. Like, you just can't. I don't care if you're playing in Miami. You can't score 45 fucking points in a playoff game against any competent defense. Like, and I think it really showed when Buffalo went in there, and I think Buffalo's fucking ass cheeks, by the way, and Buffalo went in there and won. Like, I get it. Like, I completely understand and get the frustration. Trust me, I'm as frustrated as you guys. I'm not ready to jump ship yet, man. Like,
oh god, what's it gonna take? What's it gonna take, man? You've seen 3, dude. Joe Burrow's hey, time out.
Away from winning a Super Bowl. Like,
I get it, but that year was our best offense, and we've improved personnel since. Why is our offense? Why hasn't it gotten better? It used to be the offensive line is holding us back from scoring 30 a game, and then we improved it a little bit, and it's like, well, we still need to improve it a little bit more, and we're still not scoring 20 fucking points a game. It's old, man.
But this is my other aspect of it too. Like, and it's not just us. Like, I think it's everywhere in the fan base. We are like looking for fucking perfection and scoring 30 points a game. And
I'm just looking to score some damn points.
See, I get
Give me 20, man.
Way more active than some of the other minds out there. I'm just saying, I don't think Rome is burning. Like, it's the first 2 drives, like, we were literally saying this offense can't be fucking stopped. Like, it has the ability,
but it's hard. That drive's not easy. You can say
Rome's not burning, but everyone at Rome has decided to just stop flushing their toilets all at once. It's just all one big stinky mess.
We scored, but it's still a 12-play drive, man, and those just are not realistic. It's not.
I do love your Cordell Patterson take. I think Cordell Patterson can actually be a good addition to the offense, like you said, with the receiving aspect of it. I'm more of a Hunter Henry guy if I'm talking to any of your tight ends. I think Hunter Henry kind of, brings another, like, let's be honest, they're looking for the ideal tight end for them is a guy who's a block first tight end that can go out there and make a play when he needs to and sit in that zone. And I think Hunter Henry fits that perfectly.
Man, that's a good one.
I think Hunter Henry's it for me. I don't know, man. I get it. Like, I get the frustration. I completely do. Like I'm not there yet, man. I think 9 will be better. I just think when you tout it out to it, man, there's been a lot of kind of fluky things in the season, man. Like you got to look at who teams are playing. You have to look at, I mean, how they've played against teams. Like maybe I'm looking at it too optimistically for the Bengals, but I'm one Joe Burrow holds the ball in the red zone to beating Baltimore. I'm one freak rainstorm in the second half from the Bengals probably being in that game and being a one-score game. Like Tennessee just throw out the window. Like that was we didn't show up in Tennessee, but I don't know, man. For me,
What's it going to take for you though? That's my question because I've seen it for 3 years.
I don't think it'll ever. I don't think we'll ever be that type of team that's scoring on the level of Miami. And to be honest with you, I don't think I really want to. Like I think it's too fluky, dude. Like I don't. I look back. I'm trying to think of that stretch in the 2020 season. Right after the game I went to in Chicago, I think it was Baltimore, Willie, when they scored 40, right? And then somewhere else they scored 40 or so after that. I don't think it's sustainable in today's NFL, man. Like, I think Patrick Mahomes is a fucking freak, and I also think that division sucks. If you put, let me phrase this again. What I'll say too: if you put the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC North, they're not winning 13 and 14 games a year. They're just not. Like, I don't know, man.
They're still scoring 27.
My problem with this iteration of the Bengals offense has less to do with the scoring outputs and a lot more to do with the ball control.
I can give that.
They're putting their defense in such a hard position to win. And this is where I think the big problem lies. And I think the running game the other teams have displayed is such a big component.
Yeah.
When you can pick up first downs with your running game, and when you can set up easy third downs, easy second downs for your passing game with your running game, you're making the game so much easier for yourself automatically because you're picking up first downs and you're chewing more clock and you're getting in better field position. Right now, I honestly have a really hard time talking too much shit about Brad Robbins when he hasn't been good by any stretch of the
his leg probably tired.
But they put him in horrible positions. He's always kicking from their 20, from their 10. The offense needs to move the ball.
And I'll say that with you too, Willie. Like I think that's more of a ceiling that I'm looking for. Like I think you hit it on the head. Maybe my take on it is like it's not looking at 24 points per game, but it's being more efficient. Like, oh my God, by the way, Aaron Nola just dropped a nastiest curveball on this guy Perdomo. They're not losing a game, Philly. Oh my God. Anyway, this is not a baseball podcast, it's a football podcast. But I'm just at that point where like I don't know if this offense will ever be a 27, 28 point type of game like Kansas City Chief offense. And I think I'm okay with that. But I will tell you that I'll agree with you that Willie. They have to do better with field possession. They have to do better. If you're going to get a 12-play drive, there's got to be points or there's got to be a pin out of it. I
don't know, man.
I'd love to have this conversation in January. Maybe I'm batshit crazy. I'm not. I think if we're talking like serious right now, I don't see Miami playing past wildcard weekend. Like that shit just does not stick, man. You can't outscore teams in January. You just can't do it. It's too much film. You have the chance of playing a team for the third time. Like I think the way that the Bengals are playing football in September and October, yes, it's frustrating. Yes, it's annoying as fuck to watch. But in January, it will pay off.
Go ahead, Will. I'll let you hit on it.
I don't know. I feel like I've said all I need to say. I think Billy and I are getting on the same page with the I don't know. I'm you got it. And here's the thing, man. This team should be getting in field goal range all the time. They should always.
That's a big frustration. They should be hitting way more field goal opportunities than they are. I will agree with that, and that boosts it up, right? That gives you. It's
the moving the ball thing. Period. If you move the ball like effectively, you're just going to score more points. Period. You're going to put yourself in better position. The other team's going to be pinned back. They're going to have to make bad decisions. Just one of those things where it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
And the defense is so goddamn good if you put them in good situations and don't leave them on the field all goddamn day. I'm losing my mind today because this offense is making me crazy. There's so many good players on this team.
That's what I don't get, man. You go 3 and out. What were they a couple weeks ago? 60% 3 and out rate. It's pathetic.
They're third in the NFL right now.
You're not gonna win. You're not winning the Super Bowl that way, man. You're just not. Go back to the AFC Championship game. The game's tied for how long in the fourth quarter? I think you had 3 or 4 possessions tied with a chance to take the lead and you don't capitalize, not even 3 points.
No, but I
That's
also
how you
think,
lose games.
no, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. But I think we can agree that if you could add 2 to 3 field goals a game instead of a
Absolutely.
touchdown per game,
Yep.
I'll take that. Right
Now, how do you get there though? How do you get there? Because this offense isn't changing overnight. Where you're not getting the 3 now. So solution, you got to go bring someone in that can get you to 1 more field goal per game. Who does that? Hunter Henry possibly does that. Darren Waller possibly does that. Cordell Patterson possibly does that. Anyone else?
You have any running backs, Willie, in mind other than Cordell Patterson that can kind of get you fast and available at this point?
Not a great running back market right now. A lot of teams that have the good running backs are the good teams. So they're not the ones that are coughing them up. A lot of teams that have bad running backs are the ones that are finding themselves so far behind that, they're like, man, I wish we would have picked a running back up in the draft. That would have been a smart move. I wish I wouldn't have waited around until the end of the 5th round to pick apparently the smallest person in the history of football. Why does Chase Brown look like he's 4 pounds soaking wet? Why, when they put Chase Brown on the field, does he look like they just put what's the Isaiah Thomas from the Celtics out there? Like, what is up with that?
They had chances, man. They liked Rashawn Johnson. Why don't you take him
Rashawn
in the
Johnson was like a stud for Chicago.
And why don't you get Charlie Jones in the 5th? Like,
right.
I don't think anyone was rushing to the podium to get Charlie. And I think Charlie Jones is great, but he's
24 years old. Yeah.
I'm frustrated of the emphasis this year on Travion Williams. He's done nothing. Like you were like emphasizing even when he went down in camp, it was never like, hey, like he might not make the roster. It's like, hey, he's on the roster. He's just got a rolled ankle. Like he'll be there.
Yeah.
You don't do anything.
Come on, man. What are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah.
I looked at all training camp long. Like, at no point do we hear, hey, any of the running backs look good. It was, hey, all the running backs are still here except for Travion. He's still hurt, but also on the team. Although he's done nothing to earn the spot on the team, he's on the team. But don't you worry. When it comes time, he's gonna be him. Okay. I'll believe when I see it, boys.
What are we doing, man?
Dude, making us drink the tea because he had 2 good off seasons, and then we're believing him forever. All right, we're not going to get too negative. We're going to wrap it up there for today. We'll come to you guys next week, get you guys all set up for what should be a very interesting test to see where the Bengals are in the grand scheme of things. They're coming off of a bye. They're traveling to face the San Francisco 49ers, 49ers who just lost to the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland amidst a billion extenuating circumstances. But alas, we'll get you set. Lots of angst going into this bye, I think, is undoubtable thing. But we're still happy to be 3-3. I think there's a feeling of relief among Bengals fans.
Yep. Biggest thing is that we're 3-3, man. Biggest thing is that we're 3-3 and we have a shot.
Amen. Well, for T.O. and Billy, I'm Willie. Thanks for listening, and Hoo-day.
Hoo-day.